Sister sacrificed her dream of marriage to care for me, her paraplegic brother, and now I'm desperate to change her mind. I'm a disabled 21-year-old male. I live with my older sister who's 27. I've been a paraplegic since I was a kid as a result of an accident. Our remaining parent, our dad, is pretty old and sick. He's in an old folks' home. My sister takes me to see him occasionally. My sister is pretty much my full-time carer. She has her own job which she works to support both of us, and when she's not on her job, she's usually taking care of me. She's had a very serious boyfriend for 9 years. They've been in a relationship since she was 18. It's always been a very serious relationship as far as I can tell. He's a really good guy and he's always been nice to me. He also hasn't shied away from offering financial help once in a while. I know my sister has always dreamt of marriage. We talk about it so much, me and her, ever since we were kids. We do play weddings. She would always imagine the day she would get married, spend hours looking at bridal dresses. Even as an adult, he would fantasize about getting married and spend a lot of the time looking at bridal dresses, talking about her dream wedding, what kind of house she'd like to have. She had names picked out for the kids since she was a kid herself and she's always stuck with those names. So yeah, she's always dreamed of getting married and having a family for a long time. Her current boyfriend has been with her for so long and has been so good to her, I figured he would always be the one to marry her. And I'd be happy for her. Finally she'd have someone to take care of her instead of her having to take care of me all the time. Well, that all came crumbling down. She returned home one day a complete mess, crying and pouring her eyes out all over the place. She told me they'd broken up, it was over. She was so sad, oh so sad, it was heartbreaking to see. It was like a dagger in my heart to see her crying and upset like that, and I felt so useless cause all I could offer were meaningless words. She wouldn't tell me why. I figured she just didn't want to talk about it. After a few days, she still didn't want to talk about. She was still incredibly upset, crying a lot. I told her I'm her brother. I may be physically disabled, but my heart and mind still work perfectly. She can talk to me about anything. Very reluctantly and with pushing, she opened up about it. She told me her boyfriend had proposed to her. I told her that's excellent. Why did they break up? She had always wanted to get married and had been waiting years for this. She told me they had talked about it, and her boyfriend wanted her to move in with him. They would find a separate carer for me to look after. They would still see me occasionally, but I would not visit them and my sister would no longer be my carer at all. My sister told me she couldn't accept that, and that was the offer on the table as her boyfriend wanted it. She said she couldn't accept it, they couldn't reconcile their different wants, and they broke up. I told her she's crazy, she should have chosen her boyfriend. I know she loved him so much and he was crazy about her. She should have gone and gotten married. She can stay tied to me forever. She should live her own life and have her own family. She was still crying heavily, and she told me she realized that she would never be able to have that. All that stuff she wanted as a kid, to be a bride, have a wedding, have a family, none of it would ever happen. She would be taking care of me forever. I insisted to her, telling her she didn't need to take care of me forever, she should live her own life. She said no, that's what she wants, that's the way it has to be. She would have it no other way. When I kept insisting, she said no, that's it, she's in charge, she makes her own life decisions and I should stop telling her how to live her life. She got angry at me and I quickly apologized. She said it's okay, but I could tell she was really upset and in a bad mood. Why is she doing this to herself? I don't understand. Doesn't she see that I don't want her to sacrifice herself like this? Why did she just give up her boyfriend of 9 years like that? She loved him so much and he loved her, so why did she just push him away like that? Why is she hurting herself like that? I don't want her to be hurting herself just for my sake. I never asked her to make this sacrifice of herself. I told her I wouldn't mind getting another carer for me. She said no, it's her, it has to be her, it's her job, it's her duty to me and to our family, she has to take care of me always. She wouldn't have it any other way no matter how much I tried to reason. I hate myself so much right now. I've never hated being disabled more than right now in my life. I feel like a baby or something, like a useless animal. I feel like a ball and chain, like a burden tying her down to the ground and preventing her from living her own life. All I want her to do is to be happy and live her life and be happy and beautiful on her wedding day, like she's always wanted, not stuck forever taking care of her disabled brother. I wish I could just die to free her of her burden. I'd be lying if I said I hadn't seriously considered just killing myself so she could finally be free and pursue her own life. I'm not just saying that, I'm serious. I know she'd mourn me for a while, even a few years, but after that she'd move on and get married and live her life like she's always wanted. It might be the only way she ever knows true happiness. I tried to convince her, but she seems determined to bog herself down like this. I don't understand. She's not being reasonable, she's not looking out for what's best for herself. Why is she doing this? How can I get her to focus on herself and her own life? Please guys, help me out. How can I talk some sense into her? How can I convince her to put her needs ahead of my own and to go focus on her life mainly so she can live the life she's always wanted instead of being chained down to me? How can I convince her of this? Please help, I feel so desperate and sad for her. Update 1. Okay, so this is an update to the post I made 2 nights ago. I just want to first of all say thank you so much to all those of you who posted extremely kind and heartwarming comments. That was amazing of you, thank you so much. I'm also feeling much better now. I understand things much clearer and talked it over with my sister. It seems I was confused and in the heat of the moment there was a lot of misunderstanding. Here is the original post. I have talked it all over with my sister, and we are both feeling much better and brighter now, and we agree things may have turned out for the best. I now realize, after my sister explained it to me, that he was not right for her, even though they had been together so long. I guess the length of their relationship had left me with a false impression. Firstly, as my sister explained it, it seems he didn't say I couldn't visit at all, as I had thought she meant, but that I just couldn't visit whenever I wanted to. They'd set times and schedules for when I could visit to ensure I wasn't over all the time interrupting and interfering with their lives. However, it seems my sister didn't like this at all. She said she realized her boyfriend had a problem with me, and wanted to place some distance between her and me, and she wasn't okay with that at all. I told her I thought she loved him. She said she thought she did too, but she knows her priorities in life, and she is old enough and mature enough to be able to decide what she wants from life and what her priorities are. I told her I thought she'd always wanted to get married and have children and a family ever since she was young. She explained to me, she still does to a certain extent, but only if the conditions are right. She said that she was a different person when she was younger. Now that she's older, her ideals and priorities had changed. She said that if she does get married, it's basically like what one commenter described as a package deal. I'd have to be included in the family too, and I'd have to live them and be part of their family full time. She said if any potential husband couldn't accept that, then he could get stuffed and she didn't want him. That's basically what she thinks of her now ex-boyfriend, and she said she feels much more positive about her future now that he's gone. She said while she was with him, she was always feeling unsure about what the future held in relation to her and me, but now that she's made her firm decision, she knows she'll never let go of me. I asked her, what if this means that she'll never get married? What if it means that she never ends up finding a guy who's okay with all this and is willing to settle down with me in the fray? She said if that's the case, then so be it. As she explained it, she basically said I'm her family now, I exist and I'm the most important thing to her. She won't sacrifice me for a hypothetical husband and hypothetical children who don't yet exist but may one day. She said priority number one for her will always be me and taking care of me throughout my life and disability. She couldn't imagine living her life without it. I told her, but didn't she feel she was severely limiting herself by chaining herself to me? Didn't she feel she was severely restricting her opportunities in life and what she could become? She explained that her years with me and taking care of me had helped form part of her identity. Taking care of me now is part of her identity and character. It's one of the things she lives for. I found that amazing, but she said she could have it no other way. I provide to her just as much as she provides to me, she said, and perhaps even more. I told her she was exaggerating, but she insisted it was absolutely true. She explained how the mere fact of her looking after me, and her taking care of me, day in, day out, brings so much joy and happiness to her life. She doesn't know how she could ever live without it, and to her it's so much more important than the possibility of having a husband or children. I found it difficult to wrap my head around that. I joke that I really can't imagine that it's always that fun, especially when she's, say, wiping shit from my ass or something. She just laughed and explained how sometimes something that can superficially seem gross, disgusting or painful can still be beautiful and cherished when you look at the love involved. She used the example of a mother giving birth. After 9 months of sickness and swollen body, she has her body ripped open, there's blood everywhere, screaming and crying, and it's the most intense physical pain of her life. But at the end of it all, it's still beautiful because it's an act of love and she endures all that pain to bring to life someone whom she will love forever. So yes, even acts like wiping shit from my ass, as gross and disgusting as it may seem to some, is in of itself an act of love and an example of how much she, as a sister, cherishes me as her brother, and the lengths she will go to as a result of that relationship. And that, I think, is beautiful and true love. So now I have a completely new outlook on her and our life. It's much more positive and I no longer see myself as a burden or a chain. She helped me realize my own self-worth and value. I'm not just some disabled guy in a wheelchair that needs help. I'm a brother and I provide love, friendship and value to this amazing, beautiful, kind-hearted woman I am so proud to call my sister. I no longer have any thoughts about ending my life at all, because I realize how much I am worth to her and how much I mean to her, and how much it would hurt her if I do that, and I could never bear to do that. So I just thought I'd share that update with you all. After all those incredibly warm and supportive comments you gave me were so uplifting. I can honestly say, even though I may be physically disabled, I consider myself to have this amazing gift because I'm blessed with love, and this love is the most amazing thing in the world. I can't imagine living without it. Update 2. About 2 weeks after my last post, we had an unexpected visitor, her ex-boyfriend. Yeah, the guy she had broken up with. He showed up at our doorstep, and my sister, ever the composed queen, let him in. I, on the other hand, was ready to throw, metaphorical, hands because I was so protective of her. It turns out he'd been doing a lot of thinking. He told my sister he regretted how he handled things and admitted that he had been selfish in his approach. He said he didn't understand the depth of her love and commitment to me, but after reflecting on it, he realized what an amazing person she is. But here's the kicker, he didn't come back to get her back. He came to apologize, to tell her that he wanted her to find someone who would love her and me as part of the package deal. He said he knew he wasn't strong enough to do that, but someone else would be. Honestly, hearing him say that was both heartbreaking and incredibly respectful. My sister thanked him for his honesty, and they parted on good terms. She said it brought her a sense of closure she didn't know she needed. Afterward, we had this deep, late-night talk about love and what it means to find someone who truly accepts you for who you are, family and all. Here's where things take an exciting turn. My sister has always dreamed big, and after everything, she decided to take a leap. She's going back to school to become a nurse. She said that caring for me all these years has shown her that she has a natural talent and passion for helping others. Plus, she wants to be able to provide for us even better than she already does. She's been applying to nursing programs, and the energy in our house has completely shifted. There's this buzz of excitement and purpose that wasn't there before. Inspired by her boldness, I've decided to take a step forward in my own life, too. I've started working on a blog where I talk about life as a paraplegic, the ups and downs, and everything in between. It's been therapeutic, and I've even connected with others in similar situations who've shared their stories. I've realized I have a voice, and people want to hear it. And then, the most shocking thing happened. A few days ago, my sister got a letter from a man who had read my first post. Apparently, someone had shared it on a platform, and it went viral. This man, a widower with 2 kids, wrote about how he'd been moved by our story. He said he couldn't stop thinking about my sister's selflessness and how he admired her dedication. The letter was kind, heartfelt, and respectful. He wasn't asking for anything, just expressing his gratitude for our story and how it had inspired him to reconnect with his own family. But my sister? She couldn't stop smiling while reading it. She hasn't responded yet, but I can tell she's thinking about it. So, here we are. My sister is about to embark on a journey toward becoming a nurse. I'm finding my voice through writing, and we've both realized that life is full of unexpected turns. Whether it's reconnecting with an ex, finding new passions, or inspiring strangers, every step forward feels like a new beginning. Now on to second story. Overheard my sister belittle my miscarriage, left my dad's birthday dinner in tears, sparking a family argument I never intended. A few months ago me, 28F, and my sister Yana, 33F, realized that we were both pregnant. I'd say she was about 6 weeks further than I was. She's been struggling with infertility, so we were all happy for her. I have an older son, 2 meters, with my husband, 32 meters. Sadly, a couple weeks ago I lost my baby. We told my family. They were all supportive, but I did sort of pull away from them. They would have tried to avoid discussing Yana's baby around me, but I didn't want to overshadow her, especially since she's wanted this for a long time. I also didn't want to be reminded of my own loss whenever I saw her. So I haven't been to my parents' place for Sunday dinner since or really spent time with Yana, which we had been doing a lot before. I replied vaguely to any messages about my absence. Wasn't the best communication from me. Yesterday my parents were hosting family dinner for my dad's birthday. I've been thinking about going because I missed my family, and while of course the pain of losing my child has not faded, I'm at a point where I can at least put it a little to the side to be there for my sister and my new niece, when she is born. So I let my family know that we would be coming. However, we had to get a gift for my dad and then my son had a bit of a tantrum, so we got to my parents' place about an hour late. I wished my dad and then went to the kitchen, where my mom, Yana, and my Sils were. But before I went in, I heard them say my name so I stopped. My mom was saying something like well I guess, op/s not coming and Yana said what did you expect, she probably changed her mind and is just staying home again. Honestly, I'm sorry for her but you would think she was the first woman to ever lose a kid. And it's not even her first kid. They then kept talking about other things, but I just wanted to leave. I went and got my husband, who was with my Bill, Dad, and brothers in the living room. I told my dad I was really sorry but we needed to go. They all protested, but my husband could see how upset I was so he didn't. We got my son and left. When we got home, I just kind of cried for a while. My husband asked me what happened and I told him. He was angry that she said that, but thought we shouldn't have abruptly left because my dad had been looking forward to seeing us, and my son missed his cousins. After this, I was feeling conflicted. Later my brother texted me saying my dad had been really upset about us leaving and brought it up at dinner, which caused a whole fight because Mom and Yana realized that I must have heard them talking, and my dad was mad about it. My brother said that it was pretty bad and he wished I had just stayed so none of it would have happened. Obviously Yana didn't mean for me to hear that. They were all just frustrated that I'd been AWOL for so long. Now I feel bad, because I didn't mean to ruin dinner. Obviously what Yana said was hurtful, but I can see how my actions might have led to her saying something out of anger, and I could have talked to her about it later instead of just leaving. Ida? ETA for additional context, my family is the type to just drop by at each other's places and see one other multiple times throughout the week besides just Sunday dinner. Lately I've been kind of fielding off any requests for people to visit. I just want to emphasize how close my family is and how abnormal it is for me to not be seeing them regularly even for a little bit. I haven't been ghosting them, but I just text them saying I'm not feeling up to it for dinner and kind of leave it there. My sister and my mom have always been closer to each other, as have me and my dad. Additionally, my brothers are closer to her since they're all closer in age. I mentioned this in a comment, but we didn't text anyone saying we were going to be late since my family is usually pretty lax about time. Me and my husband usually show up early though, so it's unusual for us to be late and might have been why they thought we weren't coming. Also, my son was continuing to be a handful all the way there, so that kept us busy and we kind of didn't think about notifying anyone. I've started looking into grief counseling, now that I feel like I can at least talk about it. As far as she's told us, my sister hasn't had a miscarriage before, she just had trouble getting pregnant to begin with. From what my brother told me, my sister and mom didn't admit to saying anything, they just kind of looked at each other once my dad mentioned me leaving, and he noticed and asked about it. Then one of my Sills, who was also in the kitchen, my other brother's wife, mentioned what they said and my dad got mad. My other brother was also apparently angry with them, and it just turned into my mom and sister trying to defend themselves, my dad and other brother yelling, and my brother, who texted me, trying to stay out of it. Update 1. I took your suggestions and called my dad, apologizing for leaving early. He completely understood. We talked a bit and he asked if we could go out to lunch this week because he missed seeing me, so we made plans. Then, I talked to my husband and told him that I didn't think I could have stayed and still thought leaving was the best thing for us. He apologized for invalidating my feelings and said he would have liked for us to spend time with family but not at the cost of my mental well-being. He offered to call my brother, not the one who texted me, to set up a playdate for our son with his kids, so my son could see some of his cousins, which I appreciated. Later, my mom called, I guess my dad told her we talked, and she apologized for taking so long to call, saying she felt ashamed and didn't know how to talk to me. She said she wouldn't have let Yana say that if they'd known I was there and that she didn't mean it. Yana has been hormonal and frustrated, and my mom thought calling her out at that point would have just made things worse. She felt terrible for hurting my feelings. I thanked her for the apology but told her I needed more time before meeting her. After this, Yana texted me, and I wanted to hear her out, so I called. She apologized a lot and emphasized that she didn't mean it and regretted saying it, attributing it to the same thing my mom had. Apparently she and Bill also had a big fight about it when they got home, which delayed her talking to me. We had a long conversation, in which she confessed that she had a few early miscarriages before they even told us she was pregnant. But she felt she had to keep smiling through it, which made her slightly resent how I was handling my situation. I told her I was hurting and keeping my distance so she could enjoy her pregnancy. She felt bad for misunderstanding and thinking I was shutting everyone out. I assured her that this wasn't the case, I hadn't let anyone in, and with her being pregnant, it was tough for me. I wished her luck but told her I hoped she could understand why I didn't think I could be there with her. She was sad but agreed. We talked more, and by the end, things were better. I texted my family group chat with a long message about how I was feeling and why I would be taking space from meetups, because I feel I need it after this. While the apologies eased my mind and I can see myself forgiving them in the future, I am still hurting, and I think right now, I need to spend time with my husband and son and handle my grief with a professional. Thank you all again for reading this, and I hope this answers your questions about what happened next. Hope you all have a fantastic day.